Once upon a time, in a land of math and a time of functions, the location of 8 great kingdoms rested on the shoulders of a great evil. His name? Translations. Translations arrived in the land of math and demanded that all the kingdoms follow his orders exactly. He told them that this should not be difficult, as he laid everything out in logical algebraic functions. Translations first demanded that the kings of the kingdoms graph their locations, and then to give the domain and range so the other kingdoms knew each kingdom's boundaries. King Quadratic graphed his kingdom using the function y equals x squared, and told the kingdoms that his boundaries were from negative infinity to positive infinity on the x-axis, and from 0 to infinity on the y-axis. King Absolute Value graphed his kingdom using the function y equals the absolute value of x, and told the other kingdoms that his boundaries were from negative infinity to infinity, and from 0 to infinity. King Cubic graphed his kingdom using the function y equals x cubed. His boundaries were from negative infinity to infinity, and from 0 to 0. King Square Root graphed his kingdom as y equals the square root of x. His boundaries were from 0 to infinity and from 0 to infinity. King Cube Root graphed his kingdom as y equals the cube root of x. His boundaries were from negative infinity to infinity and from negative infinity to infinity. King Logarithmic graphed his kingdom as y equals log x, and his boundaries were from 0 to infinity and from negative infinity to positive infinity. King Rational graphed his kingdom using the function y equals 1 over x. His boundaries were from negative infinity to 0, u, and 0 to positive infinity, and also from negative infinity 0, u, to 0, infinity. King Exponential graphed his kingdom using the function y equals x squared. His boundaries were from 0 to infinity and from 0 to infinity. After the kingdoms did this, he demanded that the princes of the kingdom create a new kingdom. He demanded that the princedoms shift 3 to the right on the x-axis and 5 to the right on the y-axis. He required the princes to create new functions named after himself, translated functions. Prince Quadratic graphed his new princedom as y equals x minus 3 squared plus 5. Prince Absolute Value graphed his princedom as y equals the absolute value of x minus 3 plus 5. Prince Cubic graphed his new princedom as y equals x minus 3 cubed plus 5. Prince Square Root graphed his new princedom as y equals the square root of x minus 3 plus 5. Prince Cube Root graphed his new princedom as y equals the cube root of x minus 3 plus 5. Prince Logarithmic graphed his new princedom as y equals log times x minus 3 plus 5. Prince Rational graphed his new princedom as y equals 1 over x minus 3 plus 5. Prince Exponential graphed his new princedom as y equals 1 times 2 to the power of x minus 3 plus 5. Translations decided to have even more movement in the land of math, and decided to make the sons of the princes, aka the third generation, create another function translated from the original parent functions. This time, he demanded for the new kingdoms to completely flip over the x-axis. Because this generation was young, he further explained that this meant to make all of the y-coordinates negative. In addition, the new kingdoms needed to move 5 units left on the y-axis and 3 units left on the x-axis. He also demanded to know the boundaries of these new kingdoms. So the grandson of King Quad graphed the newest kingdom using the translated function y equals negative 3x squared minus 5, and stated that his boundaries were from negative infinity to infinity and from negative 5 to negative infinity. The grandson of King Absolute Value graphed the newest kingdom using the translated function y equals the absolute value of x plus 3 minus 5, and stated that his boundaries were from negative infinity to infinity and from 5 to negative infinity. The grandson of King Cubic graphed the newest kingdom using the translated function y equals x plus 3 cubed minus 5, and stated that his boundaries were from negative infinity to infinity and from 0 to 0. The grandson of King Square Root graphed the newest kingdom using the translated function y equals the negative square root of x plus 3 minus 5, and stated that his boundaries were from negative 3 to infinity and negative infinity to negative 5. The grandson of King Cube Root graphed the newest kingdom using the translated function y equals the negative cube root of x plus 3 minus 5, and stated that his boundaries were from negative infinity to infinity and from negative infinity to infinity. The grandson of King Logarithmic graphed the newest kingdom using the translated function y equals the negative log of x plus 3 minus 5, and stated that his boundaries were from negative 3 to 0 to infinity and from negative infinity to 10. The grandson of King Rational graphed the newest kingdom using the translated function y equals negative 1 over x plus 3 minus 5, and stated that his boundaries were from negative infinity to negative 3u and negative 3 to infinity, and negative infinity to negative 5u and negative 5 to infinity. The grandson of King Exponential graphed the newest kingdom using the translated function y equals negative 1 times 2 to the power of x plus 3 minus 5, and stated that his boundaries were from negative infinity to infinity and negative infinity to negative 5. Translations decided that he had taught his lessons to the kingdom of math and decided to leave and allow them to contemplate what they had learned. The end.